This is Kimberly Quinn, host of the Mindcraft podcast, and I can't tell you how much fun I have had doing this podcast. I started when the world closed over the pandemic in an attempt to spread some positivity out there and give people some strategies to enhance their own well being and reduce anxiety and all of that. Now, 2 years later, we're still going strong and now listened to by 52 countries across the world. And I've even helped some of my students get going with their own podcasts. It's super easy to do. And I'll tell you, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. I'll just explain for you. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It is a ball. Start today. Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another exciting Minecraft discussion today. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am really pretty happy to be here today because I love the topic of, well, anything that involves psychology and personal growth, obviously. But I'm also very interested in personalities, because we know for sure there's a big genetic, component to personalities. Part of it is the way we're born, and then of course we're shaped by all kinds of different things in our environment. Whether we grew up in a loving and kind family, a dysfunctional family, an all abusive family, and birth order matters. Whether you're the oldest, the youngest, one in the middle, or an only child, or a twin, that all matters. Whether you grew up in an urban environment or a rural environment or the burbs, that all matters. So it's just interesting to me since personality differs from, behavior, like a regular isolated behavior. We can have a crabby minute and not necessarily, even more than a few crabby minutes, and not be a curmudgeon as our personality, right? A personality is traits, characteristics over a long period of time, and that would be considered to be our temperament. So, my inspiration today is from Psychology Today, and Benjamin Hardy wrote this article. So, I kind of want to talk about, is it possible to change your personality? So Benjamin starts by talking about the future, and he says, we know that personality change is as inevitable a part of aging as shifts in our musical and culinary tastes. So why not try to consciously take charge of it? Good question. Research suggests that with some effort we can nudge ourselves toward habitual behaviors that may never have come naturally to us, but that will keep us healthy, sharp, and positive as we age. One key is the ability to imagine, care about, and invest in your future self. I really like that because I've been very hooked into the word imagine. Well, in general, I'm a big fan, and so was Einstein. I'm sure many of you know that. Obviously, this genius, brilliant beyond what most of us can imagine, and he actually held imagination higher than knowledge. And as many of you are aware, I'm a big believer in and practice it myself and in manifestation. I'm talking about neurology, not like touchy feely frou frou stuff. As you know, my doctorate is in cognitive psychology, so I could talk about neurons all day long and not have one bored second. So it's not about just foofadoo, touchy feely stuff. It really is true that when we imagine the brain, it's been proven, we can put an fMRI on someone's head. Somebody's imagining playing tennis and someone is playing tennis. All the parts of the brain that are involved in that are all lighting up wonderfully that we can see on the fMRI. So we know that imagination is powerful. And now here, Benjamin Hardy of Psychology Today is turning that into, or transferring what we already know to be true into actually nudging. And I like how he used the word nudge with personality because some of it is very much in the hard drive. I mean, that's, we're like being 6'2". You can't just, you know what I mean? You're 6'2", you're born 6'2". Well, you're not born 6'2", but you're born to become 6'2". So but now we know with effort, which of course is very related to growth mindset, the growth mindset work of Carol Dweck, we know that we can actually enhance our intelligence. That didn't used to be thought of to be true, and it is. So I like the way he used the word nudge because it might take some nudging because part of that is genetic. So then he says, is it possible to change your personality? Research proves it's attainable if you can commit to the challenge. So that's what we're talking about. It's a little bit of a rewire. It's actually a lot of a rewire of some, maybe, key traits of your hard drive. But the imagining part can really set the stage. And then of course the commitment and the effort, which is what we're talking about with a growth mindset versus thinking we're stuck. Oh, I'm only born this smart. This is my IQ. I'm not a big fan of IQs anyway, because they don't really measure intelligence very well. But this is as smart as I'm gonna get. This is as artistic as I'm gonna get. No, we know that's not true anymore. So then Benjamin says the desire to change for the better is nearly universal. Research finds widespread ambition to become more outgoing, optimistic, or charismatic, and less pessimistic or neurotic. But is personality change actually achievable, or are our traits fixed and unalterable? Well, I think we know where this article's going. I don't think Benjamin would have put it in Psychology Today, right? So, what we're saying is yes, there are genetics, and yes, we can imagine it, work hard at rewiring our neurons. Neurons that wire together fire together. We know that to be true. And effort is a big freaking deal. Effort can move mountains. And we're talking, metaphorically, effort can be, moving the big picture neurons is, the mountains of the brain. They can move them and shift them in all kinds of ways to get them to, you know, stand firm and big and tall and wire together and fire together and make all kinds of things happen. So Benjamin then says recent research suggests that change with commitment may be more realistic than we might think. Nathan Hudson of Southern Methodist University and his colleagues found that people who actively worked to change aspects of their personality were, in many cases, successful. The team recruited 377 undergraduates for a 15-week study, measured their core personality traits, and asked them which they'd most like to change. Excellent. I'm sure there's a personality inventory coming that they used, obviously, to do this. And he says participants were then sent challenges of varying levels of difficulty each week based on their stated personality goals. For example, those who wanted to become more extroverted might be challenged to introduce themselves to someone new one week, and another week to ask someone new two questions about themselves. Participants also retook the personality test every week. Okay, very interesting. I'm also chuckling a little bit, kind of off topic here, but it's often it's often college students, that we sort of enlist or commission to do these things because broke college students, and I tell my own students this, and they laugh because it's true, would much rather sign up and get $100 gift, Amazon gift card than flip pizzas for a couple of hours. Usually not it's not too taxing. The experiments are usually fun, and, it's just funny because when I show them experiments that have been done over the years, it's typically, people right in their age range for the same reason. So then Benjamin goes on, he says, "The challenges mostly worked. Participants who sought to become more extroverted, conscientious" oh, they use the big 5 personality test. Okay, makes sense. Alright, starting over. Squirrel. Okay. The challenges mostly worked. Participants who sought to become more extroverted, conscientious, agreeable, or emotionally stable all showed improvement in these dimensions. However, those who wanted to become um, more open generally did not succeed, and in fact, were more likely to end up less open than when they started. The team found that personality change was not much affected by the relative difficulty of the weekly challenges. What mattered more was the participants' consistency. Oh, definitely. Completing the challenges without fail week after week. We know that too will be true. How many times have we talked about this in various Minecraft episodes, about whatever we're talking about with rewiring our brain for to be more positive, just fill in the blank with whatever, right? The brain loves patterns. It's so plain and simple. The brain loves patterns. And this works the other way, right? Because when we're on autopilot, not fact checking our thoughts, and we revert right back to those old negative ways where what if this, what if that, what if this, and the catastrophizing and self deprecating, the brain is going to go down the path it's used to going down, period. So if you kind of allow that and allow that and allow that, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. But with our topic with personality and trying to change that hard drive, Benjamin is spot on accurate with the consistency, like a good parent training a 2-year old. The neurons are like 2-year olds, just constant, constant, constant. No, not that way, this way. And then rewarding, and then giving a firm voice when they go the other way. So, your basic operational uh, conditioning. Okay, so then he says, so, yes, personality change is possible. There may, in fact, be clear paths to achieving it. The key is to follow through. Oh, I got to do like a little retract. This is two parts. And so everything I just was inspired by is actually Mark Travers of Psychology Today. And I didn't realize that. Two different pages, two different people. Okay, so everything I was just talking about, Mark Travers of Psychology Today. And man, that follow through thing, Mark is spot on accurate about that because the more we follow through, the brain, eventually figures out, just like sort of the foundation of Minecraft, is that we become the boss of our brain. Just like when a 2-year old has a tantrum and we just let them have the tantrum, eventually they figure out that they're not the boss and you are. Or with all the constant, constant, constant redirection, eventually they figure out who the boss is. Okay, so now the second person who inspired me, again, my apologies to these gentlemen because I didn't notice that 2 pages were two different people. Um, Benjamin Hardy, like I started out with, it is very related. He talks about who will you be in 10 years, right? Who will you be in 10 years? Well, here's the answer, someone else. We all know that. So again, we go back to the genetics part. Our core, of who we are is basically, that's pretty consistent. And then we can change parts of our personality with tons and tons of commitment and follow through and dedication, just like Mark Travers, the other author, was also saying. And so Benjamin here says human beings are works in progress who mistakenly think that they're finished. At every age, we massively underestimate how we'll change in the next decade. I mean, this is wild. And I have to tell you, at a fabulous 57, soon to be a fabulous 58 in a few weeks, I'm definitely the same fun-loving, grab life by the ass person I always was. I was very much born that way. And yet you definitely, as each decade goes by, you definitely, there's transformation going on, and in a good way, in a really good way. I think a lot of people as they age learn to let go a lot more, choose your battles a lot more. I guess if you don't, then maybe it's not as much of a fun process aging maybe, but you definitely become, I think lighter that way. You just realize it's not worth it. Like, who cares? I know for me, and I've always been very aware of my life minutes, just definitely more so as I get older, because why? There are fewer in front of me than behind me. So you get a little bit more protective over and selective over how we spend these, just like a bank account. Do I really need to spend $35 on that sweater that I might not wear twice? Well, do I want to spend my life minutes? I'm currently enjoying my Sunday afternoon in my peaceful house with my husband napping and my golden retriever on the chair. Do I want to swap that out and leave to go do something I don't want to do with an acquaintance? Not that they're not a nice person, but if they're like fourth string on my team, why would I sacrifice this wonderful quiet time to be by myself to go do something I don't want to do? Okay. A little distraction, but it fits here. So then Benjamin Hardy of Psychology Today says, who will you be in 10 years? Someone else. Resisting the end of history illusion. Okay, so resisting the end of history illusion. So he says it's easier for most people to look back and note the changes in themselves than it is to look forward and imagine themselves changing further. In psychology, this is known as the end of history illusion. When we ask someone to look back 10 years and examine all the ways in which they're different from their former self, they're able to come up with a lengthy list of shifts, both big and small, I guess kind of like I just did, right? Perhaps in the way They make decisions, or even the decisions that they see as desirable. Chances are they rely on different mental models, values, and principles than they did as their former self. That's quite interesting. I mean, I think again, being at a fabulous 57 and 9/10, or maybe it's like 11/12 at this point. I really have I feel like I can really relate to this because I can think, and actually my rooftop friend and I talk about this pretty frequently. Would you want to be a teenager again? Absolutely not. Each life stage has a purpose. We have a life lesson, right? We both say, you could if you paid us offered us $1 million to go for a year as a teenager, we'd say hell no. We want to be in our 20s again. No, very fun, but no thank you. 30s, also very fun. I was mostly pregnant the whole time. Wonderful, but I wouldn't want to go backwards for any of it. And I love those days. I loved being home with the kids and I loved all of it. It's just this thing that each life stage is such a gift and has such just so much to offer that I'm kind of like in saver mode. And the older I get, the more save in saver mode I am. So then Benjamin says, but what about smaller things like the kinds of people you're surrounded by or your favorite foods and types of music? Harvard psychologist Daniel Gilbert, oh, I love him. I show a video in Minecraft. I love this guy. Okay, this good news coming. Found that when people are given time to reflect, they can see massive differences between their current and former selves. However, when asked to project forward 10 years, people of all ages still consistently predict only small changes. Wow. At every age, people underestimate how much their personalities will change in the next decade. This is super interesting, isn't it? And it's just ephemeral. What does he say? And it isn't just ephemeral things. Gilbert explained in a TED talk, noticing that best friends' hobbies and vacation preferences are all subject to change, thanks to what he calls the ease of remembering and the difficulty of imagining. Oh, wow, I saw him do a thing on this. Okay, Gilbert referred to human beings as works in progress that mistakenly think they're finished. Wow, that's like huge and deep because I have a quite an awareness that I'm not finished. But you do as you get older, I think. I can only speak to up till now, obviously. I'm gonna say mid-50s because I can say that for another few weeks, and it's gonna be late 50s, I think. But it's all good. Think of the alternative, right? I'm so happy to be in my 50s. The imagining thing, I mean, for me, it gets easier. I don't know. I think I lost my train there, but I'm also kind of into the whole manifestation things. That might be it. And I'm also aware as somebody who studies cognitive psychology that we know for a fact that visual imagery works in sports, especially. That's like the big thing that most people go to for their example. But anything, because Wayne Dyer talks about it, only once we believe it can we see it, and then we start envisioning that stage, and then we get into receptive mode, and then it's there. Okay, most people make the further mistake of believing that because personality change is hard to imagine, it's also not likely to happen. But as Gilbert puts it, sorry, when people say I can't imagine that, they're usually thinking about their own lack of imagination and not about the unlikelihood of the event that they're describing. And that's probably true, huh? It's kind of like the people who don't think they have much imagination, it's all buried in there. You just gotta, basically what you need to do is find somebody with a 5-year-old and ask to rent them for the afternoon and just play in the sandbox with him or her and just let them talk and ask them about what they're thinking about and, play a little make pretend. And I'm thinking you'd have your imagination back by the end of the day because they are the master Jedi of imaginations, 4 and 5-year-olds. Okay, so then he says the benefits of being someone new. Benjamin says there are real benefits in recognizing that you're not the same person you were in the past, and that your future self will also be a different person than who you currently are. Research shows that actually perceiving your future self as a different person is helpful for decision making, as it enables you to have a greater empathy for your future self, to understand what will matter to that person and to utilize that perspective to make better decisions today. Man, I love this because currently, I'd be honest with you because I'm just an open book because I'm very active. I ski, and which is we're on the brink of that right now, and I run, but quite honestly, it's for the last year I've been mostly walking, doing the hiking loop, and just now getting back into running because I feel like the hiking was good, but I feel like I just need a little bit of more aerobic stuff. So here's where I'm going with this. We got an exercise bike, and also I've never been a huge big water drinker. I know how important it is, so I started this, the good habit with the bike. Keep everything same in the morning. Drinking I don't know how many ounces it is, but it's two of my blue water bottles, like 30. I don't even know. Let's just say 30. And it's so true that you have to put in so much effort in the beginning to get it to stick, and you got to keep as much the same as you possibly can. Keep the exercise bike in the same spot, keep the water bottle right there. 20-second rule from Sean Aker: keep it full, keep it right by the exercise bike. Keep the if you listen I listen to podcasts, so keep the phone charged, keep that right in range of the exercise bike. That's how you all get it to happen. Then we renovated. My stuff got moved twice, actually. I got back in the habit, then I got moved a third time. And man, I felt it. I'm like, oh my God, starting over a third time, like I had the momentum going. So really, and we couldn't really help a lot of that because our downstairs was upside down. But to keep it as much the same, 20-second rule, keep everything close, easy, simple. That is how, with the personality stuff we're talking about too, whatever it is you want to change, because that's for me, I'm very focused on physically right now. And also, I'm fine. I'm like in very good health, but I want to, keep it that way. So working out a little more, working a little bit more on my core and drinking water. And so envision, imagine this crazy like yoga body with striations and defying gravity, just make the stretch. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And then Benjamin wraps it up by saying, this liberating outlook also enables us to have empathy toward other people. Oh, totally. Rather than overly judging someone based on who they were in the past or even on who they are today, we can recognize that they too have the capacity for change. Oh, I love how we wound that up. Can't even top that off. Having empathy and not judging other people, because we are all a work in progress. Awesome. So nudge your future self in the right direction. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful, very contemplative, very chilly, actually not that chilly for almost December, Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.